This is one of the greatest masterpieces of Chinese landscape painting. Travelers among mountains and streams, painted by the artist Fan Quan in the 10th century AD. It was inspired by his wanderings in the unreal landscapes of Mount Hua, one of the 5 holy mountains of China. When Westerners first discovered Chinese paintings like this one, they could not see their value. They wouldn't even acknowledge them as art. But as Confucius noted, it is possible to look without seeing. If you learn to see beyond the surface of these paintings, you will discover their real beauty and find the deepest truths of the Chinese philosophies of life. Enter the hidden world of Chinese painting. What makes a Chinese painting so distinctive, so immediately recognizable as Chinese? Is it the subject matter that the Chinese artists chose to paint? Is it the different tools and techniques that they used? Or is it how they saw what they were looking at? How do we begin to understand this unique painting tradition which has survived virtually unchanged for so many centuries? Well, in China, they say to understand painting, you need to understand calligraphy, the art of writing Chinese characters with a brush. The two arts are considered inseparable, like twins at birth. To understand the birth of calligraphy in China, we need to go back 3,000 years, when Chinese holy men first began to make simple drawings on animal bones. When the bones were heated in a fire, the voice of heaven was revealed as the priests interpreted the meaning of the cracks that appeared. From the very beginning, writing in China was not just a way of communication between people, but also a means to connect with the spiritual world. When farmers in central China first found these ancient artifacts in the 1800s, they called them dragon bones, and they ground them into medicinal powders. But in the 1950s, a visiting scholar recognized them for what they were, the earliest examples of Chinese writing. By studying these bones, scholars began to understand how these pictographs, carved into bone, evolved over thousands of years into symbols painted with a brush.
So at the beginning, the Chinese calligraphy is written in pictograph style. If you want to write a goat, there's a horn, 2 horns of the goat. And the cow is like this, like this. So each word there is a meaning. This is the sun, this is the moon, and this is, you see, like this. This is a bird, meow.
You can't draw a picture of an abstract concept like good or old. And so combinations of characters were created to express an idea associated with the meaning of both characters. These are called ideographs, because the character is not a picture of an object in the real world, but a symbol for an idea. Thus, the characters for sun and moon together came to mean bright. As Chinese characters are symbols for ideas, so elements in a Chinese landscape, rocks, water, trees, and mountains, became symbols of concepts such as longevity and perseverance. For example, Pine trees, as one ancient critic put it, are like people of high principles whose manner reveals an inner power. Indeed, one emperor bestowed the title of Mandarin of the 5th degree on a particularly ancient pine tree at the foot of a holy mountain. Bamboo, which flowers in winter and grows with measured stalks, is the symbol of strength against adversity, flexibility, and the character of an educated literary gentleman. So, for the Chinese, pictures painted with a brush, whether they be an ideograph, a tree, a rock, or a mountain, are symbols that carry both the surface meaning and additional hidden meanings that can be uncovered by the educated eye. Chinese paintings are not just pretty pictures, they mean something. But why was the symbolic nature of calligraphy carried over to the art of painting? Because in China, calligraphers and painters were usually the same men called mandarins, who were the ruling scholar officials of China. To understand traditional Chinese paintings, we need to understand the minds of these Mandarin artists who created them. Whereas in medieval Europe, nobles often bragged of their inability to read or write, the Mandarins were extremely literate men, living their lives with a writing brush in hand. Because they were the world's first bureaucrats, administrators of the huge, centralized imperial system. This system was created by the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, when he ordered his ministers to create a standard ideographic writing system for all Chinese. With this common writing system, people from different parts of China could communicate in writing, even though they spoke different dialects. In fact, the Chinese term for civilization, Wenming, is represented by the characters for literature and bright, and so the term literally means enlightenment through literacy. Thus, writing was doubly important to the Mandarins. It was the stuff of both civilization and spirituality. And this was their shrine to the written word, the forest of stone tablets in the ancient capital of Xi'an. For many centuries, scholars from all over China